I'm drinking. This is probably skunky, but I haven't drank a lot of beer lately. But I had a Blue Moon Mango Wheat, so that tells you it's probably from last summer.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'm a fan of Blue Moon.
I love Blue Moon.
Yeah.
They're like domestic, yet they're still kind of crafty. Craft beer.
That's a good way of explaining it. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm drinking a Sierra Nevada.
Okay. Yeah, I can't see it.
The green screen. Yeah, I just have an old-fashioned Modelo. That kind of started at my W-2 job working with. The owner was Mexican, and I, taking care of dogs and taking care of animals. He would just after we finish our shift, just come in with a 6-pack, and that was the first introduction to beer.
Oh wow.
And and I was just down it because it tastes awful. Like I hate at that point, you're just drinking, rum and mixing with soda, when you're in your 20s. And then he would be impressed by this and he'll give me more beer. And I'll just stumble out of the job, going to the train station, just blitz on beer. But now I actually like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You get older, your taste buds change.
Have you ever dabbled into craft beer at all, or are you just strictly Modelo?
A little bit. I mean, I could drink a little bit of everything. And, in the bars in Brooklyn, there's so many types of beers, different types of IPAs and different names of Dogfish Head and all these, tons of stuff. Yeah. And I tried them all right, this is a little too bitter for me, or this is fine. But I'm willing to try any beer.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I hate IPAs. They're like sweaty gym socks.
There was a time where all I drank was IPAs, but I've moved on now. I'm into stouts now and lagers. That's kind of my thing right now.
Yeah, stouts is nice too.
Stouts are good, but they will if you drink too many, you get a bad hangover. They're so thick.
It's interesting. I don't like KBS at all.
Nah, it's all right. It's not that great. That's Founders. I'm sure you've heard of Founders. Hannibal.
Yes,
that's like the
definitely
big place in Grand Rapids. But
I know.
Anyways, well, thank you for joining us, Hannibal. Hannibal Is Hungry on YouTube. Check him out. How long? I'm just going to jump right in. How long have you been in the gig creating world? So just let's start there. We're gonna jump around. We're not gonna do this in order.
Okay, no problem. I've started in 2020. At the time, I had my main source of income is dog walking and dog boarding, taking care of dogs. The first gig economy app I ever used was in 2018. It was Rover. Yep. And I was doing that with my W-2, taking care of dogs. So I was basically doing the same thing. I don't remember exactly how I came across the app, but I signed up, and as I was doing my 9 to 5, if you want to call it, taking care of dogs in downtown Brooklyn, I would able to either walk dogs or have dogs hang out in my house with Rover. And I was doing that for a while. But 2020 obviously changed for many of us. I lost my W-2, and there was no walking dogs because New York City had shutdowns. There was no one moving. No one's doing anything.
Right.
So I was bored. And I think July, I signed up for Uber Eats. It took about, I would say, 3 to 4 days to get on. From sign up to I was able to deliver food was like about 3 or 4 days. I remember the first day I did it, Uber Eats sent me a notification saying, "Hey, you're on. Like you can start." It was at 12:30 at night. And you know what I did?
I went
outside. I went right outside. I was so bored. I had nothing else going on. And New York City, things still keep moving, right? There's still restaurants. But I didn't know what I was doing. I was probably taking terrible orders from Uber Eats. But that kind of started that. And I just go on, first thing you do when you first discover something, you go on YouTube. So I went on YouTube looking at different creators, and I thought, maybe I could do this. I had a old camera, a Canon 60D or something like that. And I just started recording some things and started putting it on YouTube, and then started to connect with other gig workers and content creators. And that kind of just started where I'm at now, which is kind of crazy how time flew by. But yeah, it started 2020. It's been going since then.
Very cool.
So 2023, yep, that's the right year. Got it right. In my head, I was going to say it wrong. And then I'm like, no, I said it right. What are you doing for gig work now? Just dog walking?
So I still have all the apps except Grubhub, because I haven't logged in for a couple of months, and I call it a soft deactivation. Yeah. We'll see if they'll let me back in. But I still, dog walking, dog boarding is still my main source of income. I still use the apps when I can, and I try to go with catering apps. So like Deliver That, Delivered. I just signed up for Delivered. Curry is a really good one. I'm sure you heard Steve yap about it all the time.
Yep.
Steve Rideshare Rodeo.
Yeah.
And still have DoorDash and Uber Eats, but I like Deliver That, for instance, and even Curry. I like the plan. Like you can get an offer, and it could be a day from now or 2 days from now, and I could plan my day.
Right.
Because I still have to do the dog stuff, and I know what to do compared to like, okay, I'm just gonna turn an app and then hope to see what happens. But yeah, so it's dog walking for the most part, then some courier apps, and obviously YouTube and some other things as well. So that's my main sources of income.
Okay. Hey, talk to us a little bit about the content that you put up on your YouTube channel. Like, what was it when you began, and what is it today, and has it changed?
I think, well, definitely my start was just complaining. I think that's everyone starts like, why Uber Eats is giving me $2.50 orders? Like, what is going on? Like that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then it kind of comes into understanding the gig economy and reading on it and listening to other content creators, reacting to it. And I think what really got me going is just explaining certain things. And I'm coming from a different angle because I take care of dogs, and Rover, which is the app that connects dog owners to dog sitters and dog walkers.
Yep.
A little bit different, where you can choose your own rates. You have a profile. They can look at it on a website. They can see everything. They see your reviews, and it's not an automatic connection compared to a food delivery app. So when you talk to someone or you connect with someone, you're chatting with them, and then you do a meet and greet, whether it could be on the phone or in person. So it's a little bit more detailed, or at least a little bit more steps compared to just turning on an app. So I come from that angle.
Okay.
So I talk about that with that frame of mind, but then also just the DoorDash. That's the app that a lot of people like to talk about. So that's still happening, but what I've been enjoying every once in a while is I do live streams where I'm talking to other content creators, asking them about basically what you guys are doing right now. I think that's probably why I started, checking out what you guys do. But yeah, just talking to other creators, asking them about, how did you get in, what works for you, where you're from, that type of thing. And that's where I am. And I think it's still the same, but now where I'm not necessarily transitioning, but trying to talk and trying to bring a conversation about, okay, if you want to continue doing gig work, how do you separate yourself from the competition?
Yeah.
Because the apps, a lot of people are on apps, right? They're very
Right.
popular. It's our fault because we've been talking to people about how awesome they've been for the last few years. And now you turn on the app, and like right now on DoorDash, I probably can't get on unless I scheduled. Like it's packed, right?
Yeah.
What can you do to separate yourself? So I've seen a few content creators saying, hey, listen, I'm going to purchase a cargo van. I'm going to negotiate contracts and to get loads. And other apps really want people to have cargo vans, like Curry, for instance, where like, hey, you got to move this 500, 700 pound thing. It's 12 feet long. I can't put it in my sedan. Cargo van would be helpful. So that's kind of where my content is kind of transitioning. Well, yeah, we still talk about the apps, but how can you separate yourself from everyone else? Because the gig economy is such an attractive way of making money. It gets to a point where there's too many of us here.
Yeah.
So what can we do to continue to keep going?
In reference to Curry, in the cargo van, Steve had brought up that you can negotiate with them a little bit. Like if you accept what did he say? He said something like you can't accept it, but if you email them or call them and say, I'll do it for this or something like that. I mean, have you had any experience with that at all? I don't know. I don't get a ton of curry offers by me. I mean, it's feast or famine. I'll get 3 in a day, and then I won't see anything for 2 weeks. So
mine's is I get curry offers every morning, but I don't have time to negotiate. So Steve has some privilege there.
I think
where he's able to kind of negotiate. Where I'm like, hey, listen, if I don't grab this thing, it's going to be gone in a few minutes, and it depends. Like depends on where you are. So UDM, I'm sure you guys are familiar with him.
Yeah.
Really great YouTuber. Deliver That. He texts or he did a screenshot. He was scheduled to do 22 catering offers throughout the week. 22.
Wow.
When I'm on Deliver That, if I don't accept this thing in 10 seconds,
it's gone.
It's gone. You know what I mean? So like everyone has a little bit of some advantages there. But the curry offers that do come on my phone are pretty good. But no, I do not have time to negotiate. Which is good. I mean, hey, if you can do it, and that's the thing I like about the other apps that don't get enough run in terms of social media or on YouTube, DoorDash and Uber Eats and Grubhub, you're talking to someone that's not in the same country, probably, if you're trying to talk to them about driver support. But when it comes to deliver that, or even deliver that I just got on, but you're talking to someone that's actually in the same country.
Yeah.
They can work with you. It's a much better experience as a driver from these other apps when compared to DoorDash and Uber Eats and Grubhub.
Yeah, because I think Curry's in the States here too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're talking to someone, and I know I think for Deliver That, there's other apps too, but some of them that you're talking to people who actually been using the apps.
Okay.
So you're not talking for someone that's so far away and so far removed that you just don't know that they want to help, but they really don't know your experience.
So speaking of that, I have a funny story. So I just use Filmora for my video editing. It's $35 a year. It's pretty basic. Yeah. Well, I was having trouble today. So I I was chatting with tech support, and I was basically I was cutting some videos and the picture was moving. It's hard to explain, but I thought they could help me, right? They're like, well, what software are you running? No, I'm chatting with someone. I have no idea where they're from. They are definitely not from the United States.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. Well, what I want you to do is uninstall your program. And then I was like, I just asked you, how do you do this tip? Like, how do you do this? Like, I don't need to uninstall I was like, oh my God, they're
going through a checklist. They have their talking points as a script.
Right.
And,
I'm like, oh, it's so refreshing to have somebody on with customer service that gets you. And they don't have to be from the United States. I don't care. Just understand what we're dealing with.
Exactly.
Not with a checklist.
100%. Yeah. You want to be able to get your problem solved and be understood. I think we all want to be understood about what we're going through at that moment.
And real quick, sorry, yes, right. One more thing.
Go ahead.
Let you go. I want to go back to the Rover for people that might not know that. You talked about negotiating rates, which is really cool. I think that's exceptional. When you do that meet and greet, do you build that charge into them, or are you just kind of doing that just because? I mean, I know you're supposed to do that, but I mean, do you get paid extra for that? Are you billing the customer?
No, the meet and greet is just to see if we can work together.
Okay.
So it's important for them, but it's also important for me to see if I can work with them and with an animal, whatever behavior issues, but also mostly it's the client. I need to know if this client is going to give me a lot of trouble or not. So it's very important to actually have them, and I'd rather have them in person, to be honest. See how they're interacting with the animal and negotiate. So if you go on Rover, let's say, for instance, you need to have someone to take care of your dog. What happens is you go on the Rover, you type in your address where you live, and then there'll be a long list of potential walkers and their rates. So their rates are right there. You know how much they're charging per night or dog walk or whatever, and you choose them, and then that's when the communication comes in. So they're fully aware of how much it costs. And as a dog walker or dog, pet professional, that's where the business kind of comes in. Okay, this person has this much reviews and they're charging this much. Okay, so if I have this much, where can I fit in to make it where I can still make some good money, but at the same time, I'm not undercharging or overcharging. So that's the balance there. And that's when, the potential client comes in and then talk to you and, see if it's a good fit before you have an animal in my house, or I have to walk your animal, go into your house. Let's see if you're not crazy or anything.
Yeah. I feel like 9 out of 10, the dogs are fine. It's the person.
Absolutely.
We actually, my neighbor did Rover once, and they had 2 dogs, and it was all fine. So they got a dog in through Rover, and the people had said that this dog was totally fine, very calm, never, good about animals, whatever. And so they have 3 kids. And what happened was, and he's always been with other kids too, this dog, but they had never tried the mix up with 2 other dogs and then children.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got aggressive.
Yeah.
The new dog got aggressive, and the owner was on vacation. So they were out of the country. So they ended up having to call the owner's sister to come pick up the dog, whatever, because it was a mess. I mean, the dog literally bit my neighbor's son.
Oh, that's terrible.
But it was because they didn't have the meet and greet. They didn't have the situation to test out, see if it worked, right?
Yeah.
So, and obviously they never did any more of the Rovers, but it's that's interesting.
That's the thing too about it. it's very easy, just like the rest of the apps. It's easy to jump in and make some money. And I feel like a lot of people, like you can see, there's some negative stories about Rover pets being lost or being killed because someone is just a little too careless about the situation. So when I talk to clients, like I'm very serious. Like I say, this is my life. Like this, this is my livelihood here. So I'm not here to, I'm not a college student just trying to find some extra money to get beers or anything like that, which beers is fine. But you know what I mean? Like I take this extremely seriously. And also what I bring into my home. So I have a 9-year-old son. So I have to make sure, I have to ask the questions like, hey, how's your dog with kids? And also just being around so many dogs, I can tell. Sometimes you'll have a couple, it could be a man or woman, or, it doesn't really matter. And one person say, yeah, he's great with kids. And the other one were like, this happens so often. It's probably with kids too. It's like, yeah, my son is great with this. And then the wife like, yeah, no, you know what I mean? But I got to gauge that conversation. So, okay, so what's the real, usually the person that at least says, maybe with this situation, that's when I kind of lean on because it's a little more honest.
Yeah.
And some people want to think that my dog is great. All dogs are great, but yeah, just like people, they have certain personality traits, certain triggers, certain things that they may not be great in this environment, but they may be perfect in that environment. And also the biggest thing is your dog spayed or neutered. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. But I think a lot of it is a little bit of ignorance in terms of a lot of dog owners. They this may be their first pet. They may not know all the signs. So I don't think necessarily they're being malicious, but as a pet professional, or at least what I call myself, I have to probe and ask the right questions to get the right information to see if this is a good fit.
So let me ask one more question, Jason.
Sure.
So you Hannibal, you brought up an interesting difference between the apps that you're normally using on your main app and most of the other apps, which is you have a profile, and I mean, yes, Uber and Lyft and stuff, they have a profile, right?
Yeah.
But we might as well not, right? There's a name and a rating.
Yeah.
But you have a profile, there's more of an identity on Rover for you. Do you see that as a benefit? And do you see that should be something that Uber, Lyft, or whatever should go towards when you talk about the gig economy?
That's a great point. I like that. I'm gonna have to use that. I'm gonna have to steal that for a video. The identity, of, because that's where we are right now in terms of everything. Social media, works. We still want people. I know the whole chat GPT and the AI is supposed to take over everything.
Right.
We still want to deal with human beings.
Absolutely.
And having that idea, even that, I call it like a storefront. It's a profile. It's a web page, and it's your sales. It's like, hey, this is who I am. Right. This is my reviews. If you talk to me, this is what you're going to get. And I think going back to what I was saying earlier about separating yourself from the competition, those type of apps, those type of services will help compared to just being a number with DoorDash or Uber Eats, where Uber Eats says, why you deliver. That's the only thing. And then you write a little message there. But I think that's really important. The identity of what are you good? Like, what's your strengths? What's your weaknesses? Mm-hmm. What you care about, what you expect from the person you're doing business with. Right. Like I said, it's a relationship. But yeah, definitely. I think that's extremely important as a gig worker. You want to establish your identity and what you stand for and what you will willing to do or not do in terms of trying to make this money.
I mean, I do like that idea, but the only problem with that is, like with Rover, like you're hiring the person, they're choosing you. Like with DoorDash and Uber, the app is choosing you for them. So I like the fact that they could leave reviews and people could see them. I think that's cool. I don't know if that might hurt you or help you in the tipping department, but I agree it needs to be more of a personal service. And I think Uber is missing an opportunity to really be able to favorite your driver. And like, I know Jesper's on at 9 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Friday and Saturday night, and I want him because he was awesome. They're missing that human,
that person. Yeah, I mean, I know Shipt has the preferred chopper. I have Shipt, never used it, so I don't know how strong that feature is. But I think that, like if I had, because I'm an Instacart customer, and I tell you, my wife isn't a very happy Instacart customer. You know how women are, and I'm sorry guys, but you know how women are with the way they want their groceries.
100%.
And my wife worked at a grocery store, back in the day. So when a dude comes by and putting vegetables with the raw meat, she gets really upset, and I can't even defend it. I'm like, because you could tell they don't want to deal with too many bags. Us men, we want to just dump everything in one bag and carry it because we don't want to do it. But when it comes to groceries, you really have to, especially if it's not yours, you got to put that extra effort in. So like if I had a great Instacart experience with a shopper, I'm like, hey, can you please come back? Like, at least have that preferred. I like this person. So at least that offer could at least come to them, and if they're available or not. So yeah, I think they are missing that. And hopefully they kind of put that together. I don't know.
Like Steve said with dumpling, I mean, that when you talked about Instacart, it made me think of that. That's another way for, you can have that personal shopping experience. But I think until those apps like dumpling or things that have more people connected start taking over, I don't think the other apps are really going to catch on. I think they're just like, we're going to do whatever we're going to do and go from there.
I think speed is the name of the game. They want, it's not necessarily a lot of like, hey, we want you to order and get as fast as you can. We're going to try to get there with whoever that's available at the time.
And I can
understand it.
I totally get that. I understand how you want to run the business, but at some point it's just, you just become a number. And I think, we've seen the chats on DoorDash, people swearing at the drivers, and it's like, I don't even pack the food. Like it
wasn't me.
It gets out of control. I got to ask a question going back to the dog thing. I love the dog thing. I don't know if anyone's ever asked you, do you have a dog?
Yes, I have. He's old right now. Yeah. He's about 14, 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
His name is Riley. He's a retriever mix.
Okay.
And he's great with obviously he's been around so many dogs. So he's like, if you have a problem with Riley, you have, that dog has a problem. Like he's super sweet. And I had a cat passed away a year ago. But yeah, it's good to have another dog. So that's another thing too I like about when there's a client that has two dogs, because when there's one and they have separation anxiety or scared, another dog kind of keeps them chill a little bit. Like, hey, we're in this foreign place, but it's just me and you together, buddy. Like we're here, But yeah, that's where I really like those kind of dogs that have been in pack situations. They've been in dog runs. They've been in dog parks. They've been in other boarding facilities. Those dogs are easier because they're used to being away from their house.
Yeah,
makes sense.
And then the second question is, what is your favorite dog breed?
I mean, I would say labs. They're dumb and happy. If I had the personality, if I had the happiness of a lab, it would be a happy person in my life. Like they are super cool. They like eating. Yep. They like playing. They like sleeping and farting. They are the perfect breed. I think they usually are if you see like the rankings of popular breeds, labs are number one because they have a little bit of everything. They'll work, they could work hard. They could play hard. They can to protect you if need be. Like they're super, super sweet. Like my next dog will probably be a female lab probably. Cause I love all the female labs I've had been super, super sweet dogs, but I think lab. Yeah. I'll go with Labrador.
Perfect.
We had a black lab growing up.
Oh yeah, black labs are
super sweet. Yep.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about your YouTube channel and what you put up there. Yeah. I don't know if we've really touched on it, but what is your main reason for creating content?
Well, it was a really interesting time when everything was locked down, and I was talking to some friends, and one of the things we did, since we couldn't really communicate like in person, we would go on Zoom chats or Google chats and watch YouTube videos about creating videos, because my friends were trying to do more like sketches and more like comic book stuff. And I was I was along for the ride. I was like, oh, sure, I'll check this out. And I started really enjoying how to create videos, and I was really fascinated by it. So I went on eBay, started selling all the stuff I wasn't using, bought a better camera, started watching YouTube videos on how to use Adobe Premiere. I had no experience doing anything of that. Be honest, before this, I didn't even think I was a creative person. I didn't think I was creative. Like it just, a lot of it was just me watching and doing. So a lot of it is I love communicating, and I really enjoy creating these videos. So, and a part of that, I'm a full-time independent contractor. So, there's no W-2 here, and my wife has a W-2. She's the stable one. Yep. I'm just I'm the flexible guy that if something's wrong at school, I'm probably going to make it, compared to her, where it's just a strict schedule. But yeah, I enjoy doing it. So that's probably, it kind of came by this crazy, tragic situation we all had to go through.
Yep.
That I found something I love to do.
That's awesome. And are you able to use it today to kind of add to your economy?
Well, yeah. I mean, with YouTube, it's been amazing. And I know Steve, he constantly tells me, do the podcast. And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be as consistent. He said, shut up and do it. And I'm like, yes, sir. So I've started that, kind of working that through. But yeah, I think my goal would be to have my main source of income be this content creation, and then do the dog walking like the side hustle.
Yeah.
Okay. Compared to right now, the main hustle is me taking care of dogs. So that's the plan, and hopefully that all works out.
What tip could you give somebody that's starting content creating that you had a hiccup? Like you're like, oh my gosh, if I would have just done this 6 months ago, it would have saved me so much headache.
I would say just start.
Okay.
Just start. Just record. It doesn't matter how bad it's going to be. Yes, it's going to be bad. Just start. If you have something to say and you're passionate about it, put it up there. The quality doesn't matter as long as it sounds good. I think we could deal with something looking blurry or weird.
Yeah.
If it has some static and a lot of terrible it's going to be difficult to listen. But definitely, don't expect to have everything together. Yeah. Don't expect. One thing I'll say to Jason, I bought a lot of crap I didn't need.
You bought a lot of crap?
What do you call it? It's called a gear acquisition syndrome. I bought things that I didn't need because I thought I needed.
So does Jason.
So now that we have a regular budget, I can't do that anymore. Like if I want to buy shit, I got to pay for it out of my own pocket.
Yeah, but
I have a problem with that.
You watch other YouTubers, at least the successful ones. You're like, I need this. I need this kind of mic. I need this kind of camera. And then people will take me seriously. It's the message. It's the story. It's how you are expressing yourself. That's the most important thing. I reference Pedro all the time. He's at 40,000 subscribers, all from his cell phone.
What?
The man, all from his cell phone. The man can't turn on a computer. I mean, now he can, but he's working on it. And I could joke with him. Technology is not his strong suit. But he records on his cell phone, edits on his cell phone, and he was able to amass 40,000 subscribers. Why? The message. Yeah. It was the relatability. It was how he was coming across the camera and talking about something that we all were kind of jumped into, doing DoorDash. I mean, I didn't think 5 years ago I was going to do DoorDash. It happens, right? Like I'm out here doing deliveries and I'm doing Uber Eats, and I go into a restaurant and I see someone with a unit in the face and it's red, and I'm like, hey, what's that? What's going on there? Because I know Uber Eats the way it looks. I'm like, what's that? It's like, oh, that's DoorDash. I'm like, DoorDash. Mm-hmm. So I apply for DoorDash and apply for Grubhub. So it really doesn't matter your equipment. It's really just you're just talk, just relate to the people, and if you have something to say and you say with conviction and passion, go ahead, jump right in.
I got a question, just this behind the curtain kind of thing. I always like your setup because it looks like it's blurred out in the black a little bit. Do you have like a filter on your camera that does that? I'm just curious.
It's the lens. So the lens has it's like 1.4 of aperture. So it's just blurring everything in the background.
I've always loved your setup. Like, it's just, I like the blur out. I think it looks really cool.
A lot of money. But I really that's one thing too I've realized, or at least you kind of realize when you are an independent contractor and there isn't a salary. I used to be a salary employee, so I knew how much money I was going to make every 2 weeks. You realize that there's going to be some days you're not going to make as much money as you want, so you better start being cheap. So I've cut back on so many things, and I'm really happy with what I have. Yes, occasionally I'll go to a YouTube video and see the newest, greatest, but I realize, okay, I don't need that right now. Not, the income has to get to a certain level to decide, okay, I'm going to buy this new camera and this new setup here. So I'm pretty happy with what I have so far. So,
well, it's like I gotta. I call my wife my sugar mama. You know what I mean? She's a nurse. I was like, honey, can you pick up a couple other shifts at the hospital? I want to buy a new piece of equipment.
Right.
She's like, nah, Nah,
No, you gotta deal with what you have.
Or you go out and hustle it yourself with Uber Eats or whatever. Well, this has been awesome. I absolutely could talk to you for hours. We try to keep these a little bit shorter because just less to edit, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What's next for you? I know you said you were kind of changing your doing things a little different, like making videos about separating yourself in the gig economy. Do you have anything else on the horizon other than Steve beating you with a podcast stick?
Which is fun. Listen, I love Steve. We were talking about, earlier before we got on about certain things and certain people. The best thing is when you realize that certain people bring you other people that you love. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm thankful to Steve. He's super sweet. He will push when he needs to push. So like we have this live stream series, we call it Beyond the Algorithm, where we try to talk about other side hustles that go beyond the apps. So we still talk about them, obviously, but talking about, again, separating yourself and using other websites or stuff like that. So we are talking about, at least I would say the biggest emphasis right now is the cargo van.
Okay.
And talking to content creators who have purchased a van and they're making money, and they can kind of let us know like, hey, how much did you pay? How did you afford it? What obstacles you have to go through? Because now it's like you're on your own. This is a legit business, right? Like legit. Right. No turn on the app. Like you have a big ass van and you got to make money now. Like it's not even a joke anymore. How do you go through those navigating those situations? So that's where we're gonna, at least in my content, is gonna go through at least the next couple of months.
So I don't mean to steal any thunder if I have, but have you talked about? I got an email from Lime. They are looking for DSPs, cargo vans, and they're going to start doing. I think they're going to try to get away from the gig app of picking up scooters and hiring companies to pick them up and charge them, kind of like Spin does. I don't know if you heard of Spin. We had that in Grand Rapids for a while, but they had no gig workers. It was just 1099. Well, it was, I think they were W-2, but there was basically like an Amazon company.
Right. I did not know that was happening, but that does make sense because I this is just me kind of hoping, but at the same time understanding that there's some companies that are not happy with what they're getting out of the main apps.
Yeah.
Right. The quality of work is suffering. Mm-hmm. So if they're looking to find other smaller companies that are a little bit more, they care a little bit more.
Yeah.
And they won't allow you to be on the app if you committed 10 felonies or something crazy like DoorDash does, where they're like, you have to do this thing, you have to do this gig and take pride in what you're doing.
Right.
We will work with that company. And I think that's what's probably happening. But yeah, the opportunities are endless with the cargo van. And I kind of talked about it, like if you really love this on the road, independent courier life, if you really love it and you're in a market that can support it, it may be a good option to invest in a bigger vehicle, because a bigger vehicle, you can transport more things and you can potentially make more money.
Yeah, I think it opened up a ton of opportunities, not even just a van, even if you got a decent sized pickup where you can haul,
Exactly. Yeah, there's so many apps that kind of cater to that. So it's Curry, obviously, but there's Bungie, there's so many different apps that kind of facilitate. They'll ask you, hey, do you have something bigger than Ford Fiesta? And if you have that, then we can work with you.
Yeah.
I think it definitely depends on the market too. I think the one thing you should do, Hannibal, is you should get like a little camera, right, and strap it onto one of the dogs and call it Doggy Cam.
That's not a bad idea.
Put that on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I thought about that in terms of getting it. It'll be a bunch of running around and drool over the place, but actually probably will work out.
But people love to watch videos of dogs and cats and dogs.
100%. Yeah, you're 100% around that.
There's a cat on TikTok I follow. The guy puts a camera on him and he runs around the neighborhood in slow adventures. I watched the whole damn thing. I don't care how long it is. This cat's just like jumping around and looking for mice and shit. It's so great. So
yeah, it's like, it's like National Geographic, but like in your backyard.
Yeah, in your backyard. Well, Hannibal, this has been great. Obviously, Hannibal on YouTube. Is that anywhere else people can reach you, or is that the best spot?
Yeah, Hannibal Is Hungry on YouTube, Instagram. Those are two main ones I have. But yeah, check me out. I have a little bit of everything in terms of all different apps. I don't concentrate on just one app. It could be from Deliver That. There's InstaWork. There's temporary work websites, obviously other courier stuff. So if you really are invested in the gig economy, check out the channel. There'll be something that you will definitely find valuable.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. And
thank you so much.
I will end this right now. Let's see. This podcast is produced and edited by Hey Guys Media Group. Want to start a podcast? Check out heyguysmediagroup.com.